Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. There are some videos I do that are spur of the moment. They're sparked by an event, a comment, somebody else's video, responses to somebody else's video, and I just feel the need for speed and have a go. We all know the circumstances around the world that we're all involved with. We all know what to do to protect ourselves. At what point do we let go? Now this has become apparent because of a particular message. But at the end of the day, I don't want to die. But I also want to live. And my life is geared up to doing certain things that mean leaving the house and doing stuff. I still have to be very careful. I'm getting on a bit, for goodness sake. I'm not quite at the magic age where I would need to be special. But it's a couple of months at the end of the day. Is it really that different? You know, when you have a birthday, a lot of people think, oh, I'm a year older. No, you're not. You're 1 day older. In fact, you're 1 second older at the point of your birth. And, okay, I'm coming up to 70 now. I'm not there yet. That's an October thing, later in the year. But, you know, I'm at the point where I could be deemed a little vulnerable. But, in addition to that, I have to take my past into consideration. I've had quite long periods where I haven't been a smoker, but I have also had quite long periods where I have been a smoker. And one of those periods is recent. Okay, it ended in January this year. In the big scheme of things, that's not long ago. And if you smoke, you damage your lungs. I don't care what else other people say, you do that, whether you like it or not. And if you have that situation and you get this virus, you are far more likely to go down. So I need to take care of myself. But there comes a point where I'm not prepared to stay indoors any longer. So with care, with caution, I will venture out and I will start doing more things. And I will bear in mind that anybody I come in contact with comes into various categories. If I come into contact with somebody that's been self-isolating, what is the risk? The risk is 0. So I'm quite happy to meet that person. I've been self-isolating just by it's the way I live. I'm a loner. What's the expression? Social pariah. I don't know. But I don't mix with people. When I do, I love it. But I can avoid it and do without it. And that's how I've been at the moment. I'm not meeting anybody. I'm not mixing with other people. I have to do my essential shopping like everybody else. I take the precautions. And in my little supermarket that I go to, nobody has been infected. Staff or people who use that particular shop. It's clean. And it's probably liable to stay that way. So I'm pretty safe. I still take precautions. I'm not stupid. But at the end of the day, there comes a time where you just have to say, I'm going to go for it with precautions. Now that's part of my idea of going to Burnham's and have a day out. Now, I get in my car, I haven't met anybody, nobody else has been in my car, I'm safe. So far, we're safe. On the way, I might sort of think, oh, I fancy a coffee, fancy a sandwich. I can do without those. I could get myself a little bit of food in a little picnic bag or something to eat on the way and stop somewhere and sit on the side of the road, look at the scenery and have something to eat. Live without the coffee until we get to Burnham's. And then at that point, we've got to perhaps, being desperate for a coffee, go in their cafe. I'll trust them to have taken the necessary precautions. They want to survive as well as I do. So there comes a point where you just have to let go, and you just have to let it go, basically. And I'm getting to that point now where I'm going to start doing more things on the grounds that there's a little bit upstairs here that thinks things through. And I know when I'm safe and when I'm not. I know the situations I could get myself into where I don't feel safe. Well, just don't do those then. Do the other things. Anyway, that's that. And, oh, there's somebody at the door now. That was just somebody coming to pick up their parcel. Because I'm in all the time, Postman Pat knocks on doors to deliver parcels, and if nobody's in, he comes straight back to my house because he knows I am. And I'm like a second depot where all the blinking parcels get dumped. And then Postman Pat sticks a card through their door saying that your parcel is at Roger's place. And they come over and knock on the door and they get their parcel. So that was that. That's that done. My good deed for the day. Right, the other thing I wanted to talk about is tech. How much tech do you want to put in your growing area that takes control? That takes over you having control? To one degree or another, some would say, I'm not having none of that. None. Zero. Zilch. I'm not having any of that, cobblers. I like to be in charge. That's a little bit of me, with a little bit of give and take. But there are some that like the automation and the high-tech stuff. I'm a bit in between. But you have to look at the things that can go wrong before you go down the path, not after. Now, in here, all my tech is based on one thing: power supply. If I get a power cut, the whole lot goes off. The only thing that carries on working is that, because it's on batteries. So, if I get a power cut, this whole lot goes off. Nothing works. I've got no fans, I've got no Hurricane Hector, that ceases to be. Everything stops. Now, if I had a power cut in the middle of a heat wave, this would be a serious big deal, because I'd get a heat build up in here that I could do nothing about. I couldn't get the air out. Well, the first thing I can do is open this door behind me. That means some of the excess heat would come into the house. Roger would not be happy, because I don't like getting too hot. I'll live with it. It doesn't put me down. I'm quite happy at walking about outside at 33, 34 degrees. It doesn't put me down. I could do without it, but I don't go down. I can take the heat. I can also take the cold. But that's not relevant as far as my grow room is concerned. We don't get those problems. But again, the same sort of thing. You know, if we were in a bitter cold spell where the daytime temperatures were well below zero, we do get that in the UK. If I had a power cut, I got no heat. I got no means of raising the temperature. So I'm totally dependent on a power supply. In this country, in the part of the world that I'm in, we don't get many power cuts. And when we get them, they really do not last long. So I'm quite happy to write that off as a potential problem that would be short term. Because I know if I get a power cut, it's normally in a storm, when we got the lightning, you know, and all that sort of stuff. And it'll whack something with a lightning strike. And the men are out there with their orange suits on, you know, out there busying away with their screwdrivers and their hammers, and it'll be up and running pretty quick. Since I've been here, which is, well, I don't know what, 10 years plus, I think the longest power cut I've ever had in this house is 2.5 hours. Now, in a heat wave or a really cold snap, that's not a big deal, is it? Let's look at the other thing when you start getting into the Wi-Fi controls, where you want everything on your phone. Well, you can lose your phone, for a start. I can't lose my power supply. You know, the cables come in the house and it works. and unless there's a cut, it works. I could lose my phone, I could drop it down the toilet. You know, some people can't let go of their phone enough that they can't even go to the toilet without letting go of their phone and sploop. And some of them don't like getting wet. So I'm not that way inclined. I don't use my phone like that, but some people live off of it. And I know people that have got their whole grow rooms controlled on their phone. Yeah? Can your phone talk to your grow room permanently? No. What can go wrong? Atmospherics can go wrong. Your Wi-Fi can be interrupted. Your Wi-Fi can go down, come to think of it. We've had problems like that with me trying to do a live broadcast where things go wrong. And in my experience, they go wrong relatively more often in that arena than they ever do with the power supply. So I'm not relying on that. Everything in here is manual sensor. So let's have a look at what we've got then. We've got the two big circulating fans, yeah? They're on a thermostat, which is... no, they're turned. I was just going to say, why aren't they on? It's because I've turned them off manually. If I turn them on, they will come on. And they come on because that thermostat is set to 20 degrees. So when the temperature is above 20 degrees, providing I've got a power supply, my two circulating fans come on. We like that. So I don't have to be here, providing I've got a power supply. Next to it is my hydrostat. That controls Hurricane Hector. And at the moment it says that my humidity is 65% and it should be 74%. Why is it not on? Because I turned it off because it goes up my trouser legs. I put a manual switch and interrupt because there are times when I don't want it to work because I'm filming or I'm watering and I don't want wet jeans. So there's that. And then we've got these things, the extractor fan and its little cousin down there, the inlet fan, which you've got a job to see. And that's controlled by that thermostat. And that basically says when it gets 2 degrees above 26.5, it will fire up those two fans. I've got a 2 degree differential. The only reason that doesn't work is that I've got a power failure. Yeah? So everything in here is geared up to a power supply, which where I live in my country is pretty stable. It very, very rarely goes wrong. There are parts of the UK where there are power supplies in large areas dependent on overhead cables that happen to run alongside of trees, and when we get storms and stuff and the trees get blown down, they take the power cables out. I haven't got that problem here on the south coast. I don't get that problem. So the power supply here is pretty stable. So I've put all my eggs in that basket. Let's go for a constant power supply and some units that actually work, providing they have a power supply. And as I've said, the least amount of time I think I've ever been without power is about 2.5 hours. It did happen to be rather a cold period at the time, and it got to the point where the house was just starting to chill down because the heating went off, obviously. And then it all fired back up. And we took our 3 jumpers and our overcoat off and thought, that's okay then. So that's how I work. So as far as this virus thing is concerned, how long are we prepared to lock ourselves up? Now in this country, the rate of infection is now so low that you probably stand as much chance as winning the lottery. In my area, which is a very low infection rate area, I've got about a 1 in thousands of chance of ever coming across anybody that's actually infected. I could run around with waving my arms in the air willy-nilly and still probably not come across anybody that's infected. It's pretty safe, isn't it? You have to go on the, what do you call them? You know, they're sort of, that word's gone. Duh, and I haven't even had a lot of wine yet. You just have to go on the fact that the chances of you meeting somebody that's infected are so low that they become nearly negligible. That doesn't stop you from being sensible and keeping away from people. I mean, when I go out for a walk in the forest, my forest walks, if I see somebody in my binoculars, they're too damn close. And that's my attitude at the moment. If you are people, if you are human, you keep your flipping distance. Unless you've got a very good reason not to, and I've agreed to it. So, I think I'm pretty safe to go out and about a bit more. So I'm prepared to do so. Quite a bit of my out and about is still going to be places where I'm highly unlikely to bump into anyone anyway. And I'm safe in my car. The only time I might not be a little safe in my car is going to get some more fuel. Because I've got to pick up a hand pump. You know, the petrol pump that other people have touched. Yeah. Blah, blah. But I'll have something with me. I'm not stupid. I'll have some hand wipes, some sanitizers. So I will quite happily pick that pump up and put the fuel in my car and put it back. And then I will sanitize my hands prior to getting back in my car. At which point I'm safe again. So there are ways to actually go about your life. And I think we ought to do a little bit more of that with caution. Because the caution always needs to be there, and that never ends. Until such time as there's a vaccine that works and is guaranteed, and everybody's had one, we're not safe. Not really safe. But you have to estimate the risk, analyse the risk, and perhaps we might, as individuals, just be able to do a bit more. Not be stupid like those assholes who came down to Bournemouth Beach the other week because we had a nice hot day. People came from 150, 200 miles away to come down to that beach. They swamped our whole area where I live. They blocked roads, they parked in stupid places, they blocked people's driveways, the toilets weren't open, the facilities weren't available, so they did their business on the beach. Some poor souls had to go and clean that lot up because they wanted a day on the beach. Do you think I'm going to do that? I don't want sand in me sandwiches anyway. Anyway. Let's have a think and be sensible. If you're going to venture out, do it with the appropriate caution. Don't just do it willy-nilly. And I think we should all be okay. It's getting there. Or certainly in this country, the rate of infections is reducing daily. There's still people dying, don't get me wrong. It's not funny, you know. But at the end of the day, the rate of infection is dropping off dramatically. So whether you like what the government's done, and whether you think they did it in time, and whether you can moan about what was, that don't make it right. Moaning about what has been does and achieves nothing. Nothing at all. What you need to do is put your efforts into what comes next. And what comes next is caution. But perhaps just a little bit more of our own ability to do some of the things we like go for a walk in the woods, go for a walk on the coast, perhaps go somewhere and eat some food outside. You're not getting me in a restaurant, not yet. But I'd quite happily sit outside in some space and order some food and have somebody bring it to me, as long as everybody stays well away. And if they don't want to stay well away, I'll have a chat to them and encourage them to do so. with extreme prejudice. So I don't know. I'm just getting to the point now where I want to do some things, and with the appropriate caution, appropriate measures, I don't see why I shouldn't, because my risk level is going down every single day. And in the part of the country where I live, the risk level was already low, and it's going down every single day. So we're getting there. There's some parts of the world where your risk level is going up dramatically. I'd have a think about why that's happening, because it shouldn't be. At the end of the day, the relative measures and precautions are there. The countries that got it right early on should have set the pattern for the other countries. Some countries have decided to do their own thing and got it totally wrong. And people are dropping like flies. They're dying. It's not funny. So do your own thing, but with caution, as I will. So, that was a right rant on it. I haven't had a rant for ages. That's 2 glasses of wine instead of 1. You know what the old vino does. Anyway, I will see you another time. And please take care. Don't necessarily believe what governments tell you. Think. Use your own initiative. Use your own brain cells and think it through. And if it sounds like it's probably safe to do so, in your mind, then it probably is. I wouldn't guarantee it though. See you next time.